How we doing, guys? Welcome to DT's Daily. Now, on today's show, we're going to be talking about Liverpool because Jordan Henderson is the latest player to pick up an injury. Next piece of news involves Matt Doherty, and he is out of Spurs game at the weekend against Manchester City. And the last piece of news involves Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang because he and his Gabon teammates have been made to sleep on the floor of the airport before their African Cup of Nations game against Gambia.
I represent my fucking self.
How we doing, guys? Welcome to DT's Daily. That's right.
So the first place we're going to start is Liverpool, and it's not great news for them. Jordan Henderson is the latest player to pick up an injury. Now, he picked up this injury whilst on international duty for England in their game against Belgium. And it's just turning into an absolute mess for Jurgen Klopp and Liverpool at the moment. The amount of injuries that they are suffering, it's making me feel a little bit sorry for them. Because, every team has the odd injury here or there. But they just seem to be picking up injuries left, right and centre. And there, of course, is a few questions as to why. And one of those questions is, the way the Liverpool players are made to work by Jurgen Klopp. And some have compared it to the time that he was at Borussia Dortmund and saying that there comes a point where that amount of work and intensity that the team puts in, eventually they break. Now, you look at the injury, for example, of Virgil van Dijk. That's not down to Jurgen Klopp. That's down to a reckless tackle. But then you see the injury to Joe Gomez. That's one you've got to kind of question because he picked up an injury that looked very innocuous. Nobody near him. Andy Robertson, he's picked up an injury now whilst on international duty to Scotland. Trent Alexander-Arnold, he's injured as well. Now you've got Jordan Henderson being injured. Mo Salah's going to miss the game against Leicester because he's contracted COVID. And it's not great for Liverpool at the moment. They're really going to have to dig deep. I suppose they're lucky in a sense that this is a season where everybody seems to be winning matches against each other. So that they've got that little bit of leeway. But they're going to have to get through until January at least without two of their first choice centre-backs. Of course, we already know that they're going to be out for the season. Or at least Virgil van Dijk is. But these other injuries, how long will they be actually out? Now, like I was saying, Jordan Henderson, he was withdrawn at half-time of the game against Belgium due to tightness in his leg. And that was confirmed by Gareth Southgate. So that seems more of a precautionary measure than a serious one. Maybe the same with Andy Robertson as well. Now they've achieved their objective. There's no, risk putting him in danger or any further injury with Scotland. And Trent Alexander-Arnold, he's picked up an injury that, is going to rule him out for about a month or so. But yeah, Mo Salah as well. Added to that, I suppose there's question marks with him because there's video footage emerging of him celebrating at his brother's wedding. I don't think there's anything wrong with being at a brother's wedding and celebrating, but when you're a professional athlete and you've got to stick to certain protocols and rules and regulations, then it's not the ideal thing to get caught doing. But yeah, Jurgen Klopp, he's really going to have to earn his money and he's really going to have to show what he's made of. And so are Liverpool because they're going to have a tough game at the weekend against Leicester. And to be missing one or two of those players is difficult, but to be missing pretty much their whole back line, if Andy Robertson is not available, then they are going to miss their whole back line. Along with Joe Gomez, Virgil van Dijk and Trent Alexander-Arnold. And when you're coming up against the likes of Jamie Vardy, you don't want to be missing that many players. Mo Salah, like I said as well, at the other end. Firmino's not been on the greatest of form. Jota's doing really well since he's joined the club from Wolves. Sadio Mane has been single-handedly carrying the team, in my opinion, at the top end with Mo Salah. But he's going to have to do it alone, and it's going to be very, very difficult for Liverpool, like I was saying. So very interesting to see what they do. Next piece of news involves Tottenham and Matt Doherty. He is out of Tottenham's clash with Manchester City at the weekend after contracting coronavirus on duty with the Republic of Ireland. The right back returned a positive test, which was taken ahead of the UEFA Nations League defeat to Wales, and must begin a 10-day period of isolation in line with UK government rules. It means that the summer signing from Wolves, who has impressed as part of Spurs' new look side, currently second in the Premier League, is also a doubt for the Europa League clash with Ludogorets the following Thursday. So listen, again, it's one of those where it puts question marks over the validity of these international matches. Now, I know some of these are games that have to be played because they're qualifiers, etc., etc. But a lot of these games are friendlies, and a lot of them just seem very, very pointless. And I do look at them and think, why are we playing them? And when these players are going out of their bubble, which they have at their clubs, and then they start traveling all around the world and interacting with other players, and that's where the issue seems to lie. And whilst we're in the midst of a worldwide pandemic and there's these problems in place, I don't see the need for these friendly games, especially when there's no real importance to them. Now, I'm not taking away what it means to play for your country, because I can only imagine the honour of playing for your, nation. But given what's going on in the world, and given the fact that they're just friendlies, I don't really see the point. And I don't see why we're putting players at risk by allowing them to, go to these matches. I really don't get it. That's why when I see a lot of teams pull out players from their squads because of a injury, shall we say, and it makes you think to yourself, how many of these players have got genuine injuries? When you look at maybe their, games that they've got coming up, and if their nation has just friendlies, then maybe them and the clubs are saying, don't really want you to go to that. Let's say you've got a bit of a niggle, little injury, give it a rest for a couple of weeks, and then miraculously you're back for your Premier League games. But then you haven't run the risk of going away and picking up something like coronavirus. And Spurs are going to have to do without him, and Jose Mourinho will not be happy about that. They've looked decent in defence, and he's been a part of that. He's been a good signing from Wolves, and he's going to be out of their game, and they've got a big one against Manchester City, so not great news for them. Last piece of news involves Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, and this is something that Arsenal will not be too pleased about. But Aubameyang and his Gabon teammates were forced to spend the night sleeping on the airport floor ahead of their vital African Cup of Nations qualifier against Gambia. Aubameyang used social media to highlight their plight after arriving at the airport on Sunday ahead of Monday's Group D clash in the Gambian capital. The Gabon delegation were told that they were not allowed to leave the airport because of an administrative problem, and were forced to sleep on the floor before being allowed to leave in the morning after government intervention. Now, Aubameyang himself went to social media and was posting photos and various other bits and pieces, and he was not happy at all. And he went on to say that no reason was given for not allowing the team to exit the airport and to head to their hotel after arrival. Nice job, CAF. It's as if we're back in the 1990s. And that was one of his posts on Twitter. And you're thinking of the times, and over 6 hours they were actually made to stay in the hotel during the early hours of the morning. And loads of the players had to actually sleep on the floor. And Aubameyang has said that it will not deter them, and that people need to know, the CAF need to know, and somebody needs to take responsibility. It's 2020 and we want Africa to grow, but this is not how we will get there. So yeah, he's not happy at all, and rightly so. It's 2020, and like he was saying, they want Africa to grow. They want things to be more equal and more, up to date. And, as a nation and as a team that are competing in the African Cup of Nations qualifiers, they shouldn't be made to sleep on the floor of a airport before such a huge game. They would have got to their hotel, had a few hours sleep, and then they had to leave and get ready and go to the game. So it's not ideal preparations in any way, shape or form. And like I was saying, Arsenal won't be too happy about this themselves. They'll be pretty annoyed about this. And it's not great. And yeah, surely something needs to be done. I have actually had a look on social media to see if there's any follow-up to this and whether anything's being said. And there's a few videos emerging of Gabon officials trying to push their way past the officials at the airport. Now, some people are saying that the reason why they were held was because they wouldn't take coronavirus testing. Now, I cannot confirm this. It's not been verified or anything. This is just some of the stuff that I'm seeing on social media. So I'm sure we will find out in due course as to who is to blame. Was it administration errors, or was it the fact that Gabon are actually to blame and they were not taking coronavirus tests? I don't know where I sit with that. It seems a bit of a stretch that they're trying to cover their backs by blaming Gabon now. And I'm sure Aubameyang and his teammates and the officials would have been very forthcoming in having their tests and everything that's needed, because that's protocol. So it's obviously something that, UEFA and FIFA and everybody else is going to have to sort out. And we will find out what happens in due course. And the sooner he gets back to Arsenal, the better, because we're going to need him this weekend. Big game against Leeds United, that's for sure. So there we go. That is it for today's DT's Daily. As usual, let me know in the comment section what you think about today's topics. What do you think about international games and the friendlies, and given everything during the current times and everything else? And also Liverpool's situation. How bad is their injury list at the moment? If you're new around here, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you smash a like on this video. And I will see you lot soon. I'm out of here.